Hello, my name is Eric. I'll be doing a presentation for my risk management class with Dr. Lee. They will be covering the West Fertilizer explosion, which took place in West Texas, which is along I-35 in Central Texas area. It's pretty much known for its pastries and sausage and stuff along the highway. Pretty good baseball team and such. Just small Texas town. I guess the fertilizer plant was built in the 1960s. It was built, pretty much prior to the growth of the community in that area. As the community, grew, highway came through, which is currently under construction. They're widening it out of, everything built up around it, schools and such. The public was not aware of, the dangers at that time of ammonium nitrate and anhydrous, which was stored at the plant. Building high hazard facilities such as schools and medical institutions should never be allowed around industrial storage facilities, as you can see in this PowerPoint. But at the time, they really didn't know the dangers of it, and so they just kind of built around it, and it was good for community, the farmers and such, and it was a place for people to go work and such like that. So they just tended, with the railroad there and all, the town just tended to build up around it. As I explained there in that last little point. Which, like I said, it's just, most of the time, around the major travel routes and such, it usually is, one of the more hazardous places to live, but it's just more of a necessity for people due to, school, work, all that good stuff, make money. So, federal regulations for the power, the anhydrous plant, the OSHA regulations do not apply to the facilities that store less than 2,500 tons, which is quite a significant amount of fertilizer pellets and such. So this plant did not, storage facility did not fall under the EPA risk management program rule for anhydrous ammonia, since it's not listed as a chemical. Storage facilities do not have to be of non-combustible construction. Concrete is recommended. It does not have to have a sprinkler system, since it's under that 2,500 tons. Well ventilated buildings are also recommended. So the gases and such, and to that upper explosive limit, or that right mixture of chemicals. And like it says, the UK has had these guidelines in place for many years. Of course, I guess everything's been over there a lot longer than over here, so we're still just kind of getting around to getting it right. So, state regulations do not allow rural counties to adopt a fire code, or state law just I wouldn't say allow, but it doesn't force them to adopt it. Responsible business owners build reinforced concrete buildings that are designed specifically for the chemicals being stored. The mixed usage of the fertilizer plant does not fall under written regulations. So really, right at this current time, for that small amount of, or what they consider that small amount of materials, there's no really regulations that they have to comply with, or at that point they didn't. And I did note that there was an emergency plan that was filed with McLennan County LEPC, but the plan was never developed. So I'm pretty sure everybody's heard about it. But the incident, which was April 17th, 2013, what the authorities and everybody that came down to ABC and such, they couldn't pinpoint the exact reason or for the explosion or where it occurred, but they figured the possible cause, it was a fire that began in a storage bin of a wooden building, where they stored the pellets. The detonation of the plant claimed the lives of 15 people, including first responders and injured, and that was the majority of them were the first responders on the fire, and injured approximately 160 civilians that were living in the immediate area around that storage facility. Said it damaged and destroyed medical facilities, schools, apartment complexes, businesses, and residential dwellings as well. I do have some relatives in that, in and around and live in West, and a few of their houses were, just weren't totally destroyed, but they end up, tearing them down and rebuilding them just due to the massive amounts of damage that, such. But luckily they were all right, health wise. When it did happen, there was a lot of support from neighboring communities. The displacement of the citizens from the homes due to damage and their uninhabitable environments caused by the infrastructural collapse, sewer, gas leaks throughout the community and such, water, problems, left everybody affected staying in commercial, family, and temporary shelters. Nearby school districts accepted students for the remainder of the school year and well into the next year. Conley and Abbott and all the smaller communities and some Waco area schools. The outpouring of monetary and commodity support was overwhelming. There's every community and city were sending 18-wheelers full of donated goods and toys, water, toilet papers, all the necessities and such. McLennan County did declare a disaster area by Governor Perry, or was declared a disaster by Governor Perry, and not too long after President Obama granted an emergency declaration for federal funding. The short-term recovery was stabilize the blast area and secure the perimeter from citizen reentry, investigate the explosion by the TBC and other government agencies, which we covered a little bit earlier, repair damage to the infrastructure to inhabit cleanup, as well as citizens' ability to return to their properties in order to access damage and reclaim belongings. They did develop an incident recovery plan in order to implement long-term recovery. I don't know if anybody watched the news and such, but it was kind of a few mayors were elected and went away, and then some changing of the guard several times. But I think with that lack of the initial plan, it was some doing to get it to kind of scurry together to get it all right. So, but it seems like everything's kind of got underway pretty good now since it's been a few years. Over the last years, the community of West has rebuilt schools, and a lot of the properties were damaged. Actually, replacing with grant money and all the support from communities. People that had many older homes that were needed repairs and updates were demolished, by engineers because the foundations and such were pretty bad. They replaced them with new construction. Personal insurance or government aid helped with this process. Insurance carried by the storage facility, however, was minimum required by the state. I think that was around $1 million, I believe. So the damage that was incurred was well over that amount. That's probably not even enough to rebuild the facility if they ever do decide. So, hopefully not in that location, but in a different location. And currently no decision is made whether the storage facility will be rebuilt or not. So, some new regulations were thought about and possibly implemented in order to eliminate some of the potential risks associated with the hazardous chemicals. Regulations need to be written and enforced when clear examples are presented through tragedy. The LEPC and that community needs to have measures in place to mitigate such incidents involving high hazard facilities we talked about earlier. Proper training of first responders to hazardous communities in order to save lives and property. A lot of the guys, from my understanding, the first responders that did respond to the storage facility really didn't realize what they were getting themselves into from the research I did, because they weren't informed of and trained on that facility and all that was going on around the area. So that just comes down to public education and training, as well as for the public, and like it says at the bottom, it will promote a safe environment that will flow up instead of trickle down, as we all know. So I said that's kind of a short, brief deal on the West explosion. I appreciate, Dr. Lee, and I guess whoever else. It's probably just going to be Dr. Lee, watching this. Hope it explained a little bit and gave you a little understanding of the West explosion. I'm sure you've seen a few of these and read about it plenty of times yourself. So I appreciate it and have a good day.